So in this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to properly use LRM on the Unity side of things. So first things first, you're going to need to import mirror. With mirror imported, if you go to the GitHub, same thing as last time, V8 is not released yet, but when it is, use that one and get the Unity package. Once you run that, you will notice you have an error, and it's about Newtonsoft. If you do not have the Newtonsoft error, then that means you already have a package that uses JSON. If you do get this one, go to the asset store, find json.net for Unity, and just import it. And once that's imported, go into mirror, runtime, find this file here, the assembly definition, and check off allow unsafe code. Scroll down and click apply. And that will allow LRM to fully compile. Okay, so with LRM compiled, no errors, you now have LRM successfully installed. I'm going to open their examples, the tank one, and show you how to set up LRM just for this demo. So if you go to the network manager, you'll notice they have KCP. Now how LRM works is, I have this shitty diagram here, but you have a server here. This is the one we just made, so the Ubuntu one, or whatever you run it on. And these are the players. The red circles are the players' firewalls or routers. If player B is a client and player A is the host, player B can pass through his own firewall, but gets stopped at player's A's because he can't pass the firewall. Now, if player A is connected to the LRM, and LRM can send data back to player A, same thing with player B, they can use this as a connection to send data. So packets go along the wire here, down, and just like that. And same thing, player A wants to send a packet. Now, obviously, this will have increased latency, as now the packet isn't just going from, each other. It has to go up to here and then down to here. LRM does support NAT punch, which will basically, both players will send a packet punching a hole in their firewall, or router, and then they will be able to connect on to the port that was just opened, allowing a direct connection. This is the new feature in V8, and it will also reduce server load, so you don't need to buy the most top-end server. So for the most basic usage, no NAT punch, you would go into your network manager, add the light reflective mirror transport, and now going over the variables here, we have a client to server transport. This is what LRM uses to communicate to the server we created. So whatever transport you put on here, I put KCP, you will need to use on your LRM. So since KCP is already on here, I'm just going to drag that into there, and make sure you put LRM into your network manager instead of KCP. Now with that in there, if you did change your endpoint server port, put that in here, and make sure to put your server IP, so I'm going to copy that, in the server IP field. You can change heartbeat. I would recommend leaving that. If you change the authentication key on the server, you will need to change it here. You change the NAT port on the server, change it here. And that's the most basic stuff down to NAT punch. If you just use it like this, say we start a game, you'll notice if you go into your SSH, transport connected, client, blah, blah, blah. And I can host a server. And if you actually scroll down, you'll notice the server ID is, this big number here. If a player wants to connect to me, they put this in there. See where it says localhost here? They put this ID here into there, and then they click client. That's the most basic usage using their basic HUD. Now, if you want to use NAT Punch, actually, we'll go on to NAT Punch in a sec. I'll finish going over all these. So with the server hosting data, these are variables you can use for the server list. So the first one obviously being server name, most basic thing. Extra server data is anything you want it to be. It can be game mode, map, extra settings. You could even put all of it into a JSON and put it in there. Whatever you want. It's just extra data for you to use. You don't even have to use it if you don't want to. Max server players is how many players can be on the server. Just make sure that your network manager also supports the same amount. So for example, this one supports more. If you only want 16 players, make sure they're both set to 16. Is public server. So if you have this unchecked, it will not show up on the server list, meaning I would have to give them this server ID here. And this is a callback for when the server list does get updated. I will go on about that in a second. So say we want a most basic display of a server list. I am going to create a scroll view, and I'll just make it a little bit bigger. Now I'm going to make a prefab. Set this under the viewport content. I'll just make the whole thing a button. Put a layout group, a content size fitter. What did we set this to? I think like 250. 300. Okay. So I'm going to put that, get a little smaller. And I'm just going to make this button a prefab. And delete the button. And I'm going to make an example script. I'll just call it LRM text. Now I'm going to open it up. With the script open, now we can make a private reflective mirror transport. I'll just call it underscore LRM. And in order to use this, you will need to go using light reflective mirror up here. Just on void start. If LRM is null, LRM equals export. We'll need to go using mirror as well. Transport.active transport, and we need to cast it as a light reflective mirror transport. There we go. So when we start up this object, it will find LRM. And the reason we do this, instead of just having this public, is because the network manager is consistent between scenes. But if this canvas just stays in the main menu, you need to find it on start. Anyways, let's make a public transform and call it scroll parent, public game object, server entry. Then let's do that. We will make a void server list updated, and this gets called when the server list is updated. So when we find LRM, we might as well just subscribe to the callback. Server list updated, add a listener, list update. There we go. And just good practice, going on disable. We will go So if they change scenes, it will automatically unsubscribe from the event and remove this as a listener. So when it's updated, we just go, we want to delete all the transforms that are currently in the server list. So we'll just do for each transform t in scroll parent, destroy t.gameObject. Now destroy all the current serverless entries in the UI in here. And after that, just go for int I equals 0, I is less than underscore LRM dot server relay serverless I plus plus, oh wait, dot count. And then we will instantiate a new server entry. So our new entry will instantiate server entry, and we'll set its parent to scroll parent. And with that, it is a button, and we want the button to be clickable to join the server. So if we put this button down again, you can see we have one child called text, and the button component is on the actual game object. So if we go unityengine.ui, we can now do new entry.transform.getChild 0 because it only has one child. Get the text component and just set the text to be, let's just set to the server name. So underscore LRM dot relay server list. We are getting the current server that we're looping over, and we'll get the server name. Then we want to make it when you click on the button, it'll actually join it. So for that, we're going to go new entry dot get component button on clicked dot add listener. For the sake of ease of use, we're going to make a new void called connect to server. And we are going to require a int server ID. And then go to network manager dot instance, dot singleton, and we need to set the address. So the network address equals server ID toString, and network manager dot start or singleton dot start client. And that will set the network address to the relay server ID and start our client. So now we just need to add this as a, on the button, connect to server, and we'll get a int server ID equals underscore LRM dot relay server list I server ID. And we'll pass that one in here. Oh, actually, we can't do that. We have to turn this into a, like that, and go connect to server ID. So basically, when you call, click, it will call connect to server with the server ID. Now, all you need to do is say we want a public void refresh server list, and just go store LRM dot less server list. Save that. Now let's just throw that on our canvas. Make sure to assign the button prefab and the parent, which is content. Going to delete that button, and let's just put one button for refreshing. So refresh. Put this button off to the side. I'm not making it pretty or anything. Put canvas there. Call LRM test, and then refresh server list. Save that. play, you'll notice if you refresh, there's nothing because no one's hosting. If I host, refresh, hey, my awesome server's in there. So, like I said, the data in here is changeable. So say, when you hosted a server, you can do LRM dot server name. You can change it just whenever you click play. And so, for example, if I stop hosting, refresh again, nothing there. Say I change it to monkey server, host, refresh, monkey server. Now, obviously, I can't join as I'm playing myself, so I am going to start a build. Okay, the build finished, and now we have the build here. So if I host with this build, I'm going to put this on my other monitor. We can now refresh the main one here. Oh, I gotta play. Refresh here. Let's see my awesome server. Click it, and now we're in. I can move around, shoot, go back into the other one, move around, shoot, and we are fully connected over LRM. There's no direct connect yet. We're just doing the most basic usage, which is just this. And if the host stops, you do get disconnected, and it's taken off the list. You can host again, join again. Hey, there he is. So that's the most basic usage. Let's say you want to do NAT punch. NAT punch is a little different, and it's the same setup for NAT punch as it is with direct connecting. You need to create a empty under the network manager. I'm going to just call it direct connect transport. We'll add a component. So now this is whatever transport you want to use. I highly recommend you use KCP, just because it's the only one we currently support with Direct Connect. But if you want to use telepathy for TCP, it will not support NAT punch, but it will do direct connected. So make sure to set the port to whatever you want. Just make sure it does not conflict with anything else. So I'm just going to set it to 5555. Back on the network manager, we need to add a direct connect module, and it will have a variable here for the transport. So you will drag the direct connect transport into there. And if you want to show debug logs, you can, but you don't need to. It just spams your console. I'm going to turn it on just for now. So you can see, you'll actually notice, restart the LRM server. With that actually on there, if I start it now, you'll notice client successfully established puncher connection. It obviously gives you my IP. So I will go get my friend who's behind a router, different one than me, and I will show you the connection. Okay, so I am going to start a server here. I'm going to go host. I'm going to let them know to join. So you will see, because I did turn on show debug logs, you will see some debug logs, like for example this one here, direct connect server created. Should be joining in a second here. As you can see, our server does show up on the list. And there we go. Direct connect client connected. And I'm not port forwarded. And he's able to move around. And that is traffic that is now directly going between me and him. The relay server is not going between them. If you check out the direct connect transport, if you use KCP, it will set the transport automatically just for the NAT punch through to work properly. But yeah, that's all there is to it.